All right. Oh, and we're live. There we go. I love that. You are live. You are live. And one other cool thing I was going to tell you about this platform is I'll get to put people's comments up here as they come along. So, all right, you guys.
Yay. Hello.
Episode 52. We're officially on the countdown to episode 100 now.
Yay.
I'm so excited. I'm actually.
What happens after 100?
150, 200, 250. And then I'm gonna be Oprah, I'm gonna be Oprah. So and then I'll just own my own media enterprise. So
that is the plan.
Hey, listen, enterprise is the plan.
You need to have me on your show again when that happens.
Trust me, I want to have eventually what I want to do, and I think what's going to happen at episode 100 is I'm going to have a panel. I'm going to have a tough panel. Like, I'm going to have a bunch of the original women that came on and started the show come on and have a panel. So, yeah, that's in the works. So 48 episodes from now, you guys. So, all right, you guys, say hey as you come in. We are on episode 52 again. I'm so excited. So say hey as you come in. Like, comment, share this episode if you feel called to do so. I'm really excited for this episode. I had the absolute privilege of getting to do a summit with Stef. I think that's where I met you from, was that summit in Radius. So, and she just dropped fire. So I am really excited for her to share her story behind all that. But before we get to that, I'm going to drop into my epic ass intro, which I now love. I'm glad I never changed it. And sadly to say, you guys, upon episode 52, I still have like the few words that I have not memorized. So before I drop into that, say hey as you guys come in. Drop us lots of hearts on this, lots of likes. Say, make sure to interact, join in on the conversation. This is just as much your table as it is ours. So without further ado, hello and welcome to the Tough Woman Table, the table where I invite some super badass tough women like Stef here to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share her amazing story. At Tough Woman, I believe all women have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered as fuck to go out and get whatever success looks like to them. So I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire and felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be. Women who own their stories so that other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because, as I always say, when we give ourselves permission to own and embrace our stories, we give someone else permission in the same breath. Oh my gosh, it's like meditation on crack. And Cheney says, hey, Cheney. I'm so excited. I'm talking about uploading the original episodes. I actually just uploaded Cheney's tonight to YouTube, so I'm really happy to tell her, I'm like, you're on YouTube. And then Sandy says, hey.
Oh, Sandy. Hey, Sandy.
So without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest tonight. I'm going to let you introduce your title because I know that you were kind of filling this one out. So without further ado, my guest is Stef Ventura, you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening or whenever you're watching this video. If you're watching it in the future, definitely let us know in the comments below, no matter if you're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you might be. Let us know that you caught this and what your thoughts are on this video today. But my name is Stef Ventura. I'm a psychic soul alignment coach. And what this means for me is that I help people to more powerfully align with their souls so that they're truly in alignment with who they really are. And as a result, they're able to have the greatest level of impact, income, and influence with their businesses and with their lives in general. And I do this through helping people do a very deep level of personal healing so that they're able to release the things that are keeping them out of alignment with their soul. That's how I help people.
Oh, I love it. And you guys, first and foremost, Kelly says, hello, ladies.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly. Oh, my God. Always makes me happy to see women who have already been on the show come on and support each other. I think that's such a beautiful thing about this. But I had the privilege, you guys, of Stef having a session with me. And it was when I was going through, really going through my stuff pretty recently. She allowed me to give myself permission to take a step back and refocus and recenter. And it is because of that that I was able to start really focusing on the things that I needed to do versus the things I thought I needed to do. So you guys, if you feel called to dive further into your soul's work, Stef is like your chick. That's who you want to see.
Thank you.
All right. So with my favorite tipping point here, What is the story behind who you are now? Because there's always a story, there's a behind the scenes. So what is the behind the scenes that got you to where you're at now?
Yeah, I love telling this story again and again because it's really molded me into the person I am and doing the work that I do today. So basically, I am originally from Peru. I was born there. When I was 4 years old, my parents immigrated to the US, so I was raised there in North Carolina, in Charlotte. So if you're from Charlotte, let me know. If you're from North Carolina, let me know because I consider that my hometown, my home state. And so I was raised there. I grew up with abuse, though. My dad was very severely abusive. There was just not just abuse from myself and my younger brothers, but from my mom. I saw a lot of domestic violence growing up, really deep stuff. And when I was 13, my mom finally stood in her power and said enough is enough, and my parents split. And then I took on the responsibility of helping my mom raise, 3 children and being an immigrant in a country and, still learning how to speak English and all these different things. And I had to grow up really fast. I had already, taken on certain responsibilities from a very young age because my parents were, working all the time. They're working class people, immigrants. But I took even more responsibility then. And when I was 14 and I was just starting high school, I decided to go after my driver's permit because, when you're in high school, you want to do everything that everyone else is doing. And so I went about doing that. And when I started the process of that, that's when I realized I was in the US as an undocumented immigrant. And that had never crossed my mind before because in my mind, yes, I was Peruvian, but I was also American. Because when you're a kid, you don't think about these things. And so I thought like I was American this whole time. And then lo and behold, like especially North Carolina being one of the southern states, conservative state, they were really cracking down on immigration and things like that. So when I wanted to get my permit, that's when I realized like, oh, I don't have the things that I need to get my permit because I'm not really supposed to be here. And that completely crushed my world because from a very young age, my parents, especially my father, had instilled in my brain like, you need to go to university. You need to get a degree in something. This is how you're going to be successful. This is how you're going to make us proud. And all of a sudden, it's like my future was just like taken out from under me. And what was I supposed to do then? And so I went through like extreme depression. In high school, I had problems at home, with the like rebellious teenage years and then thinking I had no future and what was I like doing here? What was I living for? What was the point? I managed to stay on in school because my mom convinced me to not quit. And then I graduated, top, not even 10%, maybe like top 8% or something of my class, with all of these university opportunities to like go and study at the best universities in the area. And yet I couldn't take any of those opportunities because I didn't have the documentation. And so I felt very frustrated with my life. I felt very shortchanged. I felt a lot of things because of the situation I was in. And I was very dissatisfied. And luckily for me, I had a lot of good people in my life that supported me in helping me get work. And so I was still working regardless of the situation because when you got to work, you got to work. And I've been working since I was 13. And I was able to continue working after high school, but I didn't really see like what my future was going to be like. I felt stressed out about that because I had decent jobs, but they were not the jobs that I felt like I needed to be at and be doing the rest of my life. Like I knew I was born for more, and I just was like terrified at the thought like, oh my God, is this really what my life's going to be just because I don't have papers? Is this really what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life? And I just was so depressed and so sad and so many things because so many of my peers had gone on to continue the traditional route of, going to college and all this other stuff. And I just felt like I was left behind. I felt like I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't drive legally. I couldn't work legally. I couldn't vacation or anything like that because what if something happened while I was trying to travel between states, or I couldn't even go outside of the country and all of these different things. And I just felt very dissatisfied as I went along my way. And I'm a spiritual teacher. I teach on manifesting too, and I manifested my deportation. So when I was 19, I was supposed to have moved out of my mom's house the week before, but something happened and the move into the apartment got postponed. And so I was there at her house, and immigration shows up at her house. And they basically sat me down. They asked me who I was. I couldn't lie to them because they were going to ask me for my papers and things like that. So I just told them who I was. And they were like, you need to call your mom in. We need to have a talk with both of you. And basically they just told us we had approximately like a year to get our affairs in order to go back to our home country. And so then I just decided, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to make the same mistake my parents made. Like, I'm miserable here. I don't know what to expect from Peru. I have no idea what it's like. I really don't have any family there. I really, in a way don't want to go back because my Spanish is crap and all of these different things, but I'd rather be there than be here constantly watching my back and feeling like I'm imprisoned. And so that's what I did. So when I turned 20, I went back to Peru all on my own and I started from zero. And that is what started my journey, because I just turned 31, so almost 11 years ago. I went back to Peru not knowing what to expect, what life was going to be like there, and I just kind of started on my journey there. And the creator put on my path this opportunity to teach English, which I never expected myself to ever be a teacher, because I used to think like I have no patience. I cannot teach people, because I struggled a lot tutoring my little brothers. I would get so mad at them because they wouldn't understand like math or whatever it was. And I was like, I can't teach people English. Like, I just speak English. I don't even know. But luckily, I had good mentors. I taught English. I went on to be a private English teacher. I made really great money for my age, worked my hours. I got a taste of entrepreneurship at like 24 years old or something. And life was good. And then along the journey, I got into health coaching, and I was very passionate about healthy food and lifestyle, and I'm still passionate about those things. And I took this course. I became a health coach. I, started doing that, and I struggled for 13 months to really be able to move forward with that and to be successful and, really make any money for my business and all of these different things. And I had, taken part of like a business coaching program with someone that taught me like about the systems and funnels and branding and all the things. And I was like working my butt off because I'm one of those like applied people, especially if I'm from Latin America and I'm paying thousands of dollars for a program. And so for me in my currency, it's like paying like 3 times as much or more. So for me, it was like, I'm going to give this my all. I'm going to show up. And I did that, and I still didn't see results. And so the journey took me to spiritual groups, which then led me to my psychic mentor, who then I got to work with on some level. And I took a shamanic journey with her, which is, it's a kind of meditation, but it's not meditation because it's actually energy work. And in this journey, I saw a past relative of mine, who it was my paternal grandfather, and I hadn't remembered this man from when I was, a baby. Like I didn't have any really memories of him, but for some reason I saw him in my journey. And prior to doing that journey, my mentor had told me she had seen my inner child that was very angry and was carrying around a lot of baggage. And I initially didn't believe her. Like, it didn't resonate with me because I was like, I don't know what this lady's saying, because I don't consider myself an angry person. I've been working on myself a little bit the last few years, doing these positive affirmations, Louise Hay, programming my mind to be more positive, happier, seeing the good. And I'm a good person and a happy person. And I don't know what she's talking about, because I'm not angry. I'm not blowing up on people and all of this other stuff. But, psychics were able to see more than what people can see. We're able to actually see the true energy behind a person, because a lot of times we're blind to our own things. It's like mindset work. You're a lot of times not able to see the true limiting beliefs and fears you have until you kind of do something to bring them up to your awareness. Well, psychics, we are able to tune into what's truly in your energy. And so she tuned into what was truly in my energy. I didn't resonate with it at first, but after doing this journey with her, she really helped me see that I really did indeed have a lot of anger inside of me, because as soon as I saw my paternal grandfather in this journey, all of a sudden rage came out of me, and I was bawling my eyes out, crying and angry and blaming him for everything, and all this stuff came, and I had never cried like that in a really, really long time. And so I was like, oh my gosh, she was right. I was really angry. Like, holy moly, like, where did this come from? And then that really set me off on this journey of really being curious and wanting to understand, okay, so what else do I have inside of me that I'm not aware of? Like, what other emotions do I have inside of me that I am not addressing because I just don't see it? And so I started going on this healing journey and wanting to explore, like, what it was about my past that was still affecting me today. And as I set about on this journey and started healing these things and diving deeper into spirituality, as I healed these things, I started shifting my energy a lot, and I started seeing positive results in my business. I started actually attracting more people, getting more engagement in my group, actually making money, and getting offered opportunities. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. How come everything is now coming in because I'm doing this healing work, when in the past I was taking all this action and nothing was coming from it? And now I'm doing all of this emotional stuff, working on myself, and now I'm seeing these external results. And so it blew my mind, because I was like, then everything in our outside reality is just a reflection of our inner reality, of our inner stuff. And we have to shift within in order to shift outside, the things outside of us. And so that started me on this journey of really just being very passionate of helping women, especially with trauma like mine, to really empower themselves, to release the past, to start taking back their power and creating more of the lives that they wanted, and understanding that it wasn't that necessarily they're not doing enough to create the life that they want, or that they're not worthy. It's just that they're unconsciously sabotaging themselves by holding on to this pain that they're not aware of, and they need to do something to release it. So I started on that journey doing that stuff, and it just kind of evolved into deeper psychic work, deeper healing work, deeper business coaching stuff. And that's what got me to where I am today, doing the psychic soul alignment stuff that I do, which is very much connected to business and all that jazz. So that's how I got here.
It's like, whew, all of it. Yeah,
that's the short version.
Well, hold on. Cheney says, yes, I started working at 15. I think I started at 14, babysitting, of course. Like, I think that's like the thing. Angel says, hello.
Hey.
Lorette.
Hey, Lorette. Hey, Angel. Thanks for sharing, Cheney. Yeah.
And then, yes, it's difficult to know when to shift in yourself when you can't see how the inside affects you. So I like that you talk about that, because the one thing I realized in my journey and a lot of other people's journey to see is like, it's this recognition that everything that we have going on inside of us is directly affecting outside of us. For me, it was acknowledging that I had something going on that was constantly attracting like addicts into my life. And I'm going, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Right. And then the other piece of that you talked about is following the breadcrumbs. Like, when you go back and you look at it and you look at where you're at now, it's crazy to see how that all turned out, right? Like, you started here and then somehow you ended up here. So during that period of finding following the breadcrumbs or going through the next step, what was that one like pivotal moment where you're like, okay, like, this makes sense? Like, you talk about the shaman. I guess that would be part of the pivotal moment, but was there any other pivotal moment where you're like, oh, okay, like, this is the route I'm supposed to be taking?
I feel like as I just, what was super pivotal for me was just simply seeing how, as I did this on myself, my life and business started shifting. My relationship started improving dramatically. At the time when I started my business and I was struggling, I was living with my grandparents. And it wasn't the most supportive environment. I had to deal with toxic behaviors and things like that. And I went through this deep healing. And as I went through this deep healing, I recognized like their behaviors or things didn't affect me as much anymore. Like, I wasn't being triggered by it anymore. And that was because I had healed the things inside of myself. So I wasn't triggered anymore. You're only triggered when you have things that you need to heal. And so because I wasn't being triggered and I wasn't responding in the way in which I used to, and I didn't hold that energy inside of myself, gradually those relationships started changing and shifting. And they began improving. And so I was able to then cultivate greater peace inside of myself. And all of this just promoted greater well-being and greater success and abundance, and just really seeing that, because for so long, like, especially with relationships, I think that's the thing that a lot of times really impacts people the most is a lot of times you can't really have a successful business if people are getting to you all the time. If you feel like they're bringing you down, they're stressing you out, they're not being supportive or whatever it is, like, that is very emotionally taxing for a lot of people, because we don't know how to handle those things. And so as I healed and my relationships improved, and I got different experiences of these people, because a lot of times we think, oh, that person's just stuck in their ways, or that's just the way they've always been and can't do anything about it and this and that. But I showed myself, like, that's not true. Like, people can change no matter how old and how stuck they've been. Just because I've had a certain experience of a person for so long doesn't mean I have to continue having that experience of that person in this way. And if I want to potentially shift the experience I'm having of this person and maybe have a more harmonious relationship with this person, then I have to look at myself on a deeper level and shift whatever I need to shift so that I don't continue to manifest that or attract that. Because one of the things that I teach that I'm really big on is like, whatever you're manifesting in your life, relationships with people, business, health issues, whatever it is, you're manifesting that. That's a reflection of your energy 100%. I tell my clients to take personal responsibility over that, which is one of the topics I think that we're going to talk about in this video, is like, you have to recognize 100% that is showing up in your life because you are a match for it. And you have to then step into your power and see what it is about what you hold inside of yourself that isn't causing that to come up in your life again and again and again. So as I shifted these things in myself, and I was able to then get a different experience of the people I was living with, and things were flowing better and getting better, and I was happier, and business started taking off, it just really showed me like how powerful that is, because it makes such a difference to have the family that you felt, especially that wasn't supportive or wasn't as loving or wasn't whatever, to all of a sudden start doing that for you, to start treating you better, to start really believing in you and all these different things. And that naturally helps you to continue to like become stronger inside of yourself and feel good within yourself. But that's because you stepped into your power and you did the healing work first. So that just really helped me, because I think relationships is something that deeply impacts people substantially. So that's what inspired me.
And well, you see it a lot, and I see it a lot of like in the entrepreneur groups, women going, well, such and such, I'm doing this business, but I don't have my family support. How am I supposed to do it? And we get really caught up in that. And hold on, Cheney says, yes, toxic relationships are so hard. And that's really something that I think a lot of us deal with when we come in, especially coming into this space and building our own businesses. We come up because it's so easy for people to react out of fear for your failure, or fear that you're going to be more successful than them, which is their own triggers and their own things to deal with. So I think that's something that we come up with against a lot. Steph says, hi, Steph.
Hey, Steph.
We're supporting you. Oh, and then Angela not being able to drive over a bridge. So Angela has a fear of driving over bridges that has since manifested within the last 4 years. And it's now manifesting over to her being able to drive long distances, like cross country and stuff. So she has been working through that. And I don't know why, but I suggested that she might want to check out some past lives to see.
Yeah, more than likely it's past life stuff for sure, especially like as I don't know how deep into spirituality your audience is, but the energy that is around us at this time and that is continuing to come in is helping us to release things that we deeply need to let go of in order to be, more of who we truly are, achieve our highest potential. And so a lot of these like uncontrollable and almost like irrational fears from past lives, karmic things that we really need to let go of are going to start surfacing because it's time to like let that go for whatever reason. Everyone has different things they're supposed to learn from releasing those fears and things. But yeah, so it's normal. So don't feel bad if you all of a sudden had this crazy irrational fear, but just keep doing your healing work around that to understand where that's really coming from, what it's teaching you, what the lesson is there.
And Cheney says you have to have thick skin at times and not take it personally. Like I can't talk about that enough, but I really, I think that flows nicely into, you talked about personal responsibility. So when I started, I wanted to talk about radical self-responsibility, and everybody's like, well, that sounds really aggressive. And I'm like, no, that's what you have to be super empowered. You got to have radical self. So how do you feel? You talked a little bit about how it showed up, but how do you feel by you choosing to show up in your own personal responsibility? It's worked over in other relationships within your family and relationships you have. Like, do you feel that you showing up in your personal responsibility flowed over into the other relationships and with people that you had in your life?
I think to a certain extent, me stepping into my personal responsibility over my healing and choosing to empower myself in a way helped support other people. It didn't necessarily help everyone to step into their own personal responsibility over their lives, because that's, a personal choice that they have to make. So one of the biggest things, for example, that I was like a real eye-opener for me was I grew up with someone constantly blaming another person for their misfortunes and for all the difficulties that they had in life. And this person just loves, even till this day, blaming that person, saying they did this to me, they did that, and it's their fault, and blah, blah, blah. And I used to get so upset about this and triggered and frustrated, because I'm like, why are they always focusing on the negatives and all these other things? I used to criticize a lot. And then when I was able to see their behavior inside of myself in a different way and recognize that I was also putting my responsibility over, like, thinking my family needed to support me in order for me to feel good about myself, in order for me to believe in myself, in order for me to think that I could create success. And I was placing that on them instead of saying, no, I have to do this for myself. I was able to see, like, oh, this person who I'm judging and criticizing with this behavior, I'm actually doing that myself in my own way. And that kind of humbled me in a bit, to not be so judgmental. Like, that started my whole journey of like connecting more deeply to my heart space and understanding people are doing the best with where they're at. And also to really be able to start working on myself and being like, okay, I have to start doing this for myself. And as I did that, it's like their inability to step into personal responsibility for their lives, like, no longer triggered me as much, because I had started stepping into my personal responsibility over my life. And I was like, I'm doing my thing, and I'm not seeing their behaviors not triggering me anymore, because it's not in me anymore. It's not something I need to heal anymore, because I'm actually doing the stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that changed for me.
Cheney says, I feel like I need to look into this energy that surrounds me at times. So Cheney, if you can clarify that, because I would kind of like to know. Steph may have a good idea what you're talking about, just because she's kind of like in the know with that. But I'm like, thanks,
Angela.
Yes, thank you. Angela got a phenomenal job, which she got the job. And it was funny how it worked out for her. So she applied to all these jobs, and this job happens to be in the best firm. And of course, it brings up her deep fear of crossing bridges. She's like, it's the one job that said yes, and it's the one job that like I want the most, and I have to cross a bridge.
That is how the universe will make you or support you in overcoming the things you have to overcome.
Mm-hmm. So Cheney says, yes, taking responsibility for you can really lead by example. Don't sell yourself short. Yes. Taking responsibility for yourself is a tremendous way to lead by example. And Rashawn says, hello, ladies.
Hey, Rashawn.
And she says she'll be back on replay. So I want to take a second to dive into when you were doing health coaching, because you said you worked at that for 13 months. And a lot of it came from, you were coming from this space of not acknowledging the inner child work, which I've been in that space as well. But where was that point where you were like, okay, I am okay with releasing this? Because I think a lot of women struggle with that. And we've had that conversation as well about struggling with holding on to something that is no longer like meant for us. But where was that point you were like, okay, it's time to release this and pivot into the next phase?
It's time to release what exactly? Like the health coaching?
The 13 months of doing the health coaching.
Oh, okay.
Health coaching, and you were struggling a lot with it.
Honestly, for me at the time, it wasn't that I was denying the inner child stuff or the deeper healing. It was just the fact that I didn't have awareness around that. Like, I wasn't in any way presented with this kind of information around these things before that. So I didn't understand how valuable and important it was, or helpful to a person and their growth and success and well-being. And so when I finally was presented with the opportunity to do this deeper healing, though, and I started doing it and I started seeing how it was changing my life, that's when I was like, okay, this is more meaningful work to me than the health stuff and the stuff, because I just felt like at the time, and I'm not trying to put down anybody who feels passionate about health coaching or who is a health coach here, wellness coach or anything like that, like if that's your passion, keep pursuing it, keep doing that, so long as it continues to feel fulfilling for you. But for me, what started feeling more fulfilling and impactful was the deep healing I was doing on myself and how it was changing my life and business and relationships, and being like, okay, this is the stuff that I really need to get out there, not the healthy food and diet and lifestyle anymore. Because what I noticed through working with my grandmother, so I got into like raw veganism for a while, and I made a deal with my grandmother, and I was like, look, we're going to do this. I'm going to make you this juice, a liter of this special juice I'm going to make for you. That's going to be your breakfast every day. You got to drink that and just see if you feel better. You know, and at the end of 10 days, her varicose veins on her legs had diminished. And then we just kept doing it another 10 days. And like after 20 days, they were completely gone. After doctors had told her for years, like, you have to have surgery and they're going to come back anyway, or you have to get like 10 injections straight and it's going to, you know, make them go away for a while, but then they're going to come back and you're going to have to get the injections again to make them go away. Like, doctors had told her, this is what you need to do to temporarily fix the problem, but it's not going to like completely cure it. And so when we did this experiment, when I was health coaching and stuff, it made her varicose veins go away. So after that, I was like, okay, grandma, so now you know that what you eat really does affect your body. It really does have a big impact, and you shouldn't be just putting anything in your body. And now, you know, I leave it up to you. I helped you. I got you started. I showed you what's possible. And now you can decide whether or not you want to keep doing this or not. And my grandmother, you know, she opened up a bit and she was like, okay. She kind of kept up with some things, but then eventually she fell off the wagon and she went back to most of her usual things. And as I got into this deeper healing work, I really understood the reason that people sabotage themselves is because they haven't done the deep level of inner healing that they needed to, whether it's emotional, spiritual, mindset, whatever it is, that they needed to clear the things that keeps them feeling unworthy and keeps them in this self-sabotaging mode that then returns them to the old habits. And so if my grandmother, for example, had and was willing to maybe do deeper emotional healing and mindset and to clear her own stuff, then maybe it would have supported her in being more consistent with healthier habits. But because she didn't and hasn't addressed these things, she's gone back on her old, you know, her old stuff. So that is what really, for me, helped me feel like this new stuff that I'm getting into is so much more purposeful for me and impactful. And this is what I truly want to get out there. And I can help someone, you know, maybe make healthier lifestyle or dietary habits, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to keep up with it if they haven't addressed their mindset or they haven't addressed deeper emotional things. And so I want to help them start at creating a very strong foundation by dealing with these things first, and then all of those other things will just naturally evolve and actually, you know, take hold.
And hold on. Energy definitely surrounds us all, and I feel as if mine switches quite a bit at times, and it's interesting. Not sure if this makes sense. You may have to clarify that some more.
Everything is energy. And especially like a lot of people are very empathic. So they take on energy, they absorb energy, they are sensitive to energy. So if you feel like your energy fluctuates a lot, maybe it's your surroundings, maybe it's the people you're around, the different emotions and things that maybe you're unconsciously picking up on, and that's influencing your energy. And it could be some deeper things inside of yourself that are coming up that you're not consciously aware of, but they're starting to come up to the surface. And so all of a sudden you'll be happy, but then all of a sudden you'll feel deeply sad, and maybe it's some stuff coming up to the surface to be released.
So yes, agreed. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit, Haney. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. So here's my next question. She said, yes, I'm an empath. And I think we're in an age now, I think that's, like you said, what's coming up is we're really realizing that a lot of us are very empathic. You know, I think most of us are highly empathic to a point, I guess, you know, and we have that ability, which is interesting to see how everybody's starting to tune into that. And it's interesting to see how everybody's journey is taking place along those paths, like to see how everybody's going with it. Because you do have people who are like highly empathic, but also highly unaware of that at the same time. And they're just like, I'm really happy one moment, and then I want to cry the next. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I think that's really why a lot of people today, there's like more and more anxiety being experienced by people today, is because they're very empathic and they don't realize how to set strong energetic boundaries and like what they need to do to be able to set those strong boundaries. And so yeah.
So along your journey, start moving into this, what is it that led you into really honing into your psychic capabilities? Because I believe there are a lot of people who have psychic abilities and the ability to do this stuff. And there's not a lot of discussion around how they developed that and how they got it. So what made you decide to walk down that road of really honing into your gift and what it's capable of?
We all have psychic abilities. We just oftentimes shut them down from a very young age because of things that we experience. Sometimes energies scare us and we don't understand what's happening, so we shut them down, or people tell us, oh, you're making things up. Like today I was talking to someone and she shared with me how when she was really young, she had like all of these imaginary friends, but they weren't imaginary. She was just like connecting with energies. And I was like, oh, me too. I apparently had imaginary friends, but the people around me, the adults were like, you're just making things up. And so I just eventually shut that stuff down. And so all of us have abilities. It's just some of us are naturally more tuned into those abilities, even like when we're older, like they keep getting stronger and stronger because they have to do with our purpose. They have to do with things we're here to do. A lot of us do shut them down though. And what got me started in wanting to dive deeper into these things was really when I got on this healing journey kind of process and started doing like the shamanic journeys that my mentor gave me. I started doing them, and then at some point I was like, well, this isn't hard. Like, I could do this for myself. I think I could do it. And I started just kind of doing it by myself, like intuitively. I was like, yeah, it doesn't seem hard. I can do it. I started doing it by myself and started doing my own energy work. And then as I got into the journey some more, like I had just got my first Oracle decks, which are the only two I still have, which I'm using to prop up my phone right now. That's my tripod right now. And I got those and I started practicing, and my mentor, I remember I started like reading with the booklet that comes in the decks. And my mentor was like, Stephanie, if you're ever going to develop your intuition and trust yourself, you need to like drop the booklet and just read what you're getting and just trust. And it like got me out of my comfort zone. I was like, oh my God, what if I get it wrong and all this other stuff? But I was like, whatever, I'm going to do it. So I started practicing without the booklet. And then eventually that led to me, and I kept doing like more energy work on people, like when I do healing journeys with them too, and kept building my trust within myself and all these different things. And then, in 2018, I took a spiritual retreat with my mentor, and I did some like psychic stuff there, and my abilities like started opening up more. After that, I started hearing more clearly and starting to see. And, a few months ago, I just felt like I needed to realign with my purpose again. And I got presented with the opportunity to be part of my mentor's Psychic Development Academy. And my higher self was like, you need to do this. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. And I did. I stepped into that to develop my abilities even further, because you're never done learning, and there's deeper and deeper levels of this stuff. And what I have learned through being a part of that academy is like working with energy is really interesting, and there are so many things out there that people don't know and are unaware of. And there's a certain level of reverence that needs to be brought to the work, and like respect, and being very being very conscious of like what energies you're connecting with and so on. And so I decided to be part of that academy just because I felt like it was the next step in my journey to fulfilling my purpose and what I needed to do to develop my abilities on a greater level so that I could be of greater service to the people that I'm meant to be supporting. Because I have learned that the healing that I used to do, for example, was really good. And it helps people. It definitely helped my clients, but the healing that I'm learning at this level is so much deeper and more integrated, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so it's more powerful, and I'm like, wow, this is going to make a massive difference in the people that I'm working with. So it just really had to do with me wanting to fulfill my purpose on a greater level, and me being ready to be like, okay, I'm ready to step into that. I'm ready to release limiting beliefs and fears and things around being a psychic on a greater level and just doing the thing. And it's been a journey. Like, I didn't just, I graduated from like the oracle cards, like using the booklet, to not using the booklet, to then finally being brave enough to read for people without any cards and just reading and be like, what do I get? And now I'm taking it to deeper and deeper levels where I'm just reading energy, just doing things. So it's progressive.
And I want to touch a bit on something that you went through, and you helped me a lot with this in my part, because like I said in the beginning, you guys, I was really privileged to get to have a session with Stef here. And I was at this point where I was doing a lot of things that I was just not aligned to within my purpose. It was really from a space of lack and the need. I need to do this. I need to show up here. And for fear that if I didn't do these things, that I was not going to be successful, right? So lots of stuff that was coming up for me. So you also expressed that there was a period of time quite recently where you felt like going into January, and I feel like this was a lot of us. We were all like, I know at December, we were all like, yeah, we're going to come and we're going to just hit the gate, hit the door running in 2020. And you were like, well, I had all these things and I want to do it. And then I just felt like I needed to take a step back and rest. So how was that? How did that play out when you were going through that? Because I also feel that really was the theme for January for so many people. Like, how many people got sick? I can tell you, like, so many women on my timeline that got sick. Oh, did we lose her? You guys? Uh-oh, Stef! I think she froze, you guys. Cheney said that's very interesting about imaginary friends. That explains a lot. I'll tell you something. My best friend, hopefully she comes back on here in a minute, Stef. One of my best friends, she has psychic abilities, and she grew up seeing a lot of spirits. Her parents died her mother died when she was very young, so she grew up seeing that a lot. And there were other things she saw. And for a very long time, I hope you guys can see me on here. If you guys can see me, let me know. Drop a like. Yeah, you're still very much going live. Oh, Stef left. Oh no. Hopefully she'll come back. Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. Did you hear what I said last?
It's okay. Something about working with you, and we had a session and doing things out of fear, and okay, that's where I got.
Yeah, and I said, and you also entered into this space where you're like, I was going into January and I really anticipated like hitting the ground running, and then I just kept having to be called back to take a step back. And I feel like that was really the theme for a lot of the women that showed up on my timeline. A lot of the women that I know, they were like, yeah, I was going to hit January and like hit the ground running, and then I got sick or something huge happened. So how was working through that? Because I feel like that, like I said, that was a theme for a lot of women. So I feel like there are a lot of women out there going like, what happens when those periods come in our life where we have to rest versus going full force into something?
Well, this is why I feel it's so beneficial to dive deeper into spirituality and to understand energy, or to even just be guided a bit by energy readings, so that you can then use that to navigate what's coming up for you at that time. Because otherwise, like, I don't believe in coincidences. So when a person tells me, oh, I'm getting sick, I have throat issues, or I got really sick for I don't know how many days or whatever, a lot of times it's because they have major blocks that they're not looking at, because they're not aware, and they just, like, I don't believe you just get a cold. Me personally, this is my belief. If it resonates with you, cool. But I don't believe we just get sick, or we just all of a sudden get fatigue, or we just all of a sudden have major things happen in our lives. I believe, again, with manifestation, there were signals given to you along the way of things you needed to release or heal, or whatever you needed to do, and you were not tuning into the signals for whatever reasons. Maybe you're too busy, you weren't paying attention, you were unconsciously resisting, who knows what. You just simply weren't aware. And so you weren't getting the signals. And so the universe is always here supporting you in moving forward. So if you're not getting the signals, the universe does something to get you to be in the energy you need to be in, to get you to do the things that you're supposed to be doing for your highest good. And so that's when, you know, the colds will come in or something major will happen to try to slow you down and have you focus on what you're actually supposed to be doing. And so that's why, like, I feel it's beneficial to follow people who give certain guidance around the energy around at that time, because then you can use that to really understand like what's coming up for you, why that's showing up, how it's actually supporting you, and you're not just like sitting there feeling frustrated. Because a lot of times what happens is if you're sitting there
Oh, you're breaking up.
and you're feeling
Oh, you guys. This hits home right now. Yes, Cheney. I'm just going to answer this while we're figuring out the connection issues here. It really does. I saw a lot of, and hopefully Steph comes back on. So I saw a lot of people. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to talk for a moment. This happens, you guys. This happens. I got the privilege to watch my episode today, you guys, and this happens. So when these things happen, don't let them stop you. Yeah. Oh, hold on. She's coming back.
1 second. I have to ask. Okay. So, I had to get the message from me. So basically, you know, if you are getting sick and stuff, you can approach that situation with frustration, with feeling fearful that you're not going to move forward, you're not going to succeed because now you have to slow down and stuff like that. Or you can recognize, okay, how is this actually supporting me? What is this actually trying to bring to my awareness? What do I need to shift inside of myself so that I can move through this much more quickly and continue to bring myself into alignment with what I desire? And so that what I feel is like they're just messages. They're just messages that we need to tune into. And the faster that we tune in to that, the faster we can work with the energy around us and flow more easily than continue to work against it. So if you for example, have a cold or something that is really strong and lasts for like days, you might want to look into like, are you working with the energy? Are you actually like tuning into the opportunity you're being given for why that cold is there, slowing you down, what it's trying to bring to your awareness, or are you working against it? And by working against it, you're manifesting that cold much longer. Does that make sense? And so for me, last few months of 2019, I just felt like I was out of alignment. I needed to realign. I took the time to slow down, to go within, to do deep healing, soul searching, getting into alignment. And then January, that month was really about not trying to be go, getting things done, but really setting foundations for what's to come in the rest of the year. And so really being able to understand, like, for myself, like, don't try to rush into things, even though you have all these ideas, even though you want to move forward. Slow down and get clear, start setting up things that you need so that the rest of the year can go much more smoothly. And if people weren't aware of this energy and what it was trying to teach us, which was this, like, prepare for the future by getting clear, going within, doing some deep realignment, soul searching, getting clear with your desires, preparing for that. If people weren't aware of this energy, and they were just moving, trying to get things done, trying to launch things, trying to do this and that, they were pushing themselves, then the energy kind of forced them to slow down and then have the time in that sickness or whatever the issue was to then do those things anyway. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it makes sense. And like I say, there's, even if it doesn't always make sense, like on my part or some part, there's always one woman this is gonna hit home for, and it hit home for somebody tonight.
Awesome. We got one woman, Cheney.
And listen, like I said, this is always for the one woman. Like there's always either it's me, it's the guest. Like there's somebody who comes on here and sees this and I'm like, okay, that makes total sense. So even sometimes when I ask a question, like in my brain, sometimes I'll ask questions like, God dang, that makes not a damn bit of sense. Like I don't understand where that question came from, but okay. And then somebody goes, like Cheney goes, that was a great question. I'm like, okay. So the question wasn't for me.
You were probably channeling.
Yeah. So, and you're saying this and all I can sit here and think like while we're talking, like I'm listening to you and then there's a voice inside of my head that goes, meditate when you get off of here. Meditate when you get off of here. Meditate when you get off of here. So it's like you guys, but so for someone, I'm going to ask this before we get into the last little bit. For someone who is wanting to dive deeper into those energies, because I feel called, since this is something that is obviously resonating, and they're kind of in the beginning parts of their spiritual journey, what is a tip that you would give them to really start diving into that healing aspect?
To really, first of all, to allow themselves to be guided to the information, the teachers, the mentors, the books that they feel called to move towards. So just allowing their intuition to carry them down the path that they're meant to be taking at that time. And to really understand that there is no one magical healing modality that's going to magically cure you. There's a reason why there are many different healing modalities out there, just like with anything, many different ways of doing business and so on and so forth. And so the one that's going to help us start this journey is the one that our intuition guides us to. And that might be what we need to get started on in order to continue to dive deeper into this journey of healing. Like that, like for me, what started my journey, and I didn't really mention this, but I think it was in 2016 when I started my health coaching business. Like that year, I just set the intention for whatever reason. It's the first time I set intentions for the year, which is so powerful. But you have to be mindful of what you set the intention of for that year because the universe will bring it. And my intention was like, I want to do deep healing. I want to heal around my dad issues, so on and so forth. Well, 9 months later, whatever, I got presented with the opportunity to do a kind of ritual that's very similar to ayahuasca for those who are familiar with that, which is basically drinking this drink that induces like hallucinations and vomiting and stuff. It's a spiritual experience and stuff. So I got presented with the opportunity to do that for free, and I did that. I had a very intense experience. I didn't really see much, but I felt a lot of pain. And my experience, instead of lasting 10 to 12 hours, lasted like a full 24 hours of me being in such deep pain that I was just ready for someone to shoot me in the head and to get it over with, because I just was so like in pain. And that really helped me to understand the deep pain I held within myself that I wasn't aware of. And then luckily after like that, like a week or so after that, I had scheduled a kind of theta healing session because that came on my radar and that led me to theta healing. And I was like, what is this? I don't know, but this person's doing it and I want to try it out. And the person who did my session with me, she made me break down in tears the first session. And I had like 3 sessions with her, and that really helped me so much. And I started seeing shifts in my reality. And so I thought I was like good and I was cured. That's another thing I want to tell you is like healing is not just like a one-time thing or like you do it a few times and you're good. Like, no, it's like when you start this journey, you're going to keep releasing things again and again and again. So there's never like a finish line. So just accept that.
Yeah.
And
forever.
Yeah. And so that eventually led me to finding my mentor and doing this deeper stuff. And so it was like a progressive thing. And so what I want to say is like, just allow your intuition to guide you to the thing that is kind of like the gateway to diving into these things. And as you step into that on greater and greater levels, like it will make more and more sense, because I can talk about spirituality at many different levels. And if I try to talk to you about it at the highest level that I possibly can talk about it at this time, and you're just starting out, it's like talking to someone about like some kind of like super advanced math and they're like barely doing arithmetic and they're like, what? It goes above their head. They're not going to get it. It's not going to help them. So sometimes, you know, we need to allow ourselves to just be guided to that one subject or topic or whatever mentor that will help us to start entering into that, so that we can continue to progress on that journey and to understand it's just a process and it's evolution. And to really understand that just because you do one modality or you start off with one mentor doesn't mean you have to follow them forever and ever. To keep allowing your intuition to guide you to the next person, the next step, the next book, whatever, and to understand it's just a journey that keeps evolving as you move on your journey.
Agreed. And Cheney said, I'm fighting something hard right now, and it explains why I'm getting a cold. Keyword being you're fighting, Cheney. You're fighting. You should not fight anything. But no, and just I want to piggyback on yours for a minute, just to give everybody like a scope of what she's like talking about on my aspect too. Is I started off as just learning how to breathe. Like, oh my God, I'm just learn how to breathe and start becoming mindful. And then it was Reiki healing, and then it was guided meditations through my chakras, and now it's like breath work, Kundalini yoga, like yoga. I mean. So right now for me, it's breath work and Kundalini yoga and meditation. But then it's also like balancing back into Reiki and hypnosis and all this other stuff and NLP. So yeah, like Steph says, there's never just one avenue. If you feel called to do something one day, go with the flow, go with whatever comes to you. So coming to the end of this, going back on your entire journey, what are 3 pieces of advice from your journey that you would give to someone coming up? If they're like, okay, what are 3 pieces of advice do you have for me?
No matter what you've gone through in life or what your current circumstances are, you can always create the life that you want. You just have to be willing to do your part. So step into your personal responsibility around that, instead of continuing to blame the past, people, or circumstances and saying, oh, well, it's because of this that I can't do whatever I want now. Like, no, that never has to stop you. You just have to be willing to do your part to move beyond that, and to decide like you're going to create what you want in spite of all of that. And the things that you're going through now, or the things that you have gone through, are the very things that you needed to experience in order to prepare you for what you want to create. So if I hadn't gone through my abuse and all the difficult things that I've gone through, with starting out, as a single woman in, a developing country, and, going through all the things that I did, and still being able to create the life that I have today, which I get to be location independent and work with people all over the world and doing my passion and stuff, like, if I hadn't gone through all of that stuff, I wouldn't then have the experience, the things that I need in order to help support other women in making their dreams come true, right? Because if they give me their objections around why they can't do this X, Y, and Z, then I would be like probably more inclined to like buy into their stories and just keep them disempowered. But because I have gone through the fire and I've overcome it, I've come out on the other side, I'm like, no, like whatever you've gone through, you can still do it. You can still succeed. You can still prevail. So all of the things that you've gone through have prepared you for the success that you want, the life that you want. So start seeing it that way, and start stepping into your personal power to really recognize it and do something about it to change it. Second piece of advice I would give is, I think this is especially for entrepreneurs, is you validate yourself. You validate the fact that you're worthy of the life that you want, that you get to do the work that you do, that you get to earn what you want to earn, and to stop seeking outside of yourself. So stop seeking testimonials, stop seeking branded images, websites, all the things, because a lot of times in the entrepreneurial space, we often think, I need this first before I can succeed, before I can do this, before I can do that. And we put all of these buts on it, and we make it so much more complicated than it needs to be, actually, when it can just be simple. Like, you really can succeed just being you. But if you keep thinking that, you need to have worked with all these people first, or accumulated all this experience, or all of these certificates, or all of these different things, before you can actually do the work that you want to do and to have the life you want to have, then you're just going to keep holding yourself back. So you have to start validating yourself. That is where your power comes from. You have to be able to say, like, doesn't matter if people think I'm crap or what I think is not worth talking about or whatever it is. Like, I know it's valuable. I see the value in it. I know it's needed. I'm going to go out there and do it. And I'm going to keep validating myself until I truly believe it. And this is how people really allow themselves to succeed. And the last thing I want to share is, like, what I just said around being yourself. one of the things that held me back early on when I was transitioning from health coaching to like more empowerment coaching was the fact that I wasn't being my true self. I was just doing what like my coach at the time was kind of like telling me. And it wasn't like she was telling me like to not be myself. It's just that at the time I didn't have a sense of self. And I was just like, okay, she's doing this and I'm going to do that, but in my own way, like with my pictures and my words and stuff. And I was kind of like just trying to project an image of who I thought I needed to be in order to be successful and attract my clients and do the work I wanted to do. And I didn't recognize that the best way for me to actually create the community that I wanted, to attract the audience that I wanted, was just simply being myself and understanding that I am worthy, I am enough, that people like me for me, they like my personality, the way I speak, and that was good enough. And so authenticity, being your true self, is really what you need in order to succeed with creating your impact or attracting the romantic partner that you want, or whatever it is. Like, you're good enough now, and you just have to go on the journey of uncovering who you truly are. So really understanding who you are on a deeper level and feeling and really embodying that and really feeling good with that, and just allowing that to radiate outside of you. And as you allow that to radiate outside of you, like, everything just naturally shows up for you because you're in alignment with who you are.
All right. That's awesome. I love those. So now's the part of the show where you tell everybody how they can connect with you and what it is you're doing. So this would be a perfect time to tell everybody about what it is that you have going on at the moment.
So right now, starting tomorrow, we're going to do this fun game, a fun free 5-day game. In my community, I usually do free trainings or games or things from time to time. So tomorrow, we're going to start this fun 5-day game called Create Your Impact. And this is for people who truly desire to create an impact with their gifts, their abilities, their offerings, or things that they're doing. To really either start stepping into that purpose on a more powerful level, to start reaching people on a more powerful level, to start doing things in a bigger way. So, the last few months, like I said, I had to do a lot of realignment and things like that. And I got really clear that I wanted to reach more people this year. Like, I really wanted to impact greater numbers of people. And so I'm shifting things in my group to really support people in being able to do that, to understand that they're safe to step into their soul's work, and that doing their soul's work is going to create this massive ripple effect in the world, and doing everything I can to support them in doing that and achieving that, and really stepping into these more powerful leadership roles. So that's what we're going to do starting tomorrow. Is a fun free 5-day game where every day I'm going to show up. I'm going to do a quick little teaching, things that I channel that I need to speak on, some activities, and really to help people start networking, connecting, establishing themselves as leaders, or starting to get out of their comfort zone and starting to step more into a leadership role, overcoming fears. So that's what we're doing in my community, Soul Aligned Impact. And it starts tomorrow through Sunday. And then after that, I'm going to have some guest speakers take over the day in my group to speak on something that will support them in creating a bigger impact, because I truly feel like, we're all here to help one another. We're all here to collectively help humanity move forward. And I want to support the people in my community as much as possible, and whoever's interested in really being able to fulfill their soul's purpose. So this is the purpose of the game, is to help people create momentum, because if I do energy readings. I have a YouTube channel where I do monthly energy readings, so you can check that out to know what to expect from the energy of the month. Stef Ventura Coaching on YouTube. And the energy of February is a very fast-paced energy. It's going to leave room for lots of possibilities and potential and amazing manifestations. So in order to get into that energy and start creating momentum, that's what we're doing with the game, is creating momentum and helping people to really get excited about February, because the last few months have been interesting for many. And so it's time to shift out of that energy, time to get excited again, time to feel like, okay, we're aligned again and moving forward. So that's the purpose of the game. So if you want to come and join us, feel free to come and join my group, Soul Aligned Impact. You can message me. I will drop the link after I do this interview in the comments below, so you can click on that and sign up. And yeah, I would love to have you there. So that's what we're doing. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook as Stef Ventura Coaching as well. And that's where I do other fun things as well.
All right, you guys. So go follow her, join in. I will be doing the games as well. And Steph said, so looking forward to Steph's awesome games and challenges. You guys, I'm looking forward to this because I'm really excited still. Like, even with all of January being January was, I'm still super excited for 2020. Like, that has not changed. So reach out, join the group, join the game. I'm really excited for that. And you guys, for any woman who is interested in being on the show or knows a woman who would be a perfect fit, I have lots of open episodes available. So please DM me, reach out, and we can make this happen. I'm looking for more women to be on the show. If you felt called to do this, now is the time. There is no perfect time other than right now. So reach out and get with me, and we will get you on the show so that you can share your story, because as every woman has been a perfect example, somebody somewhere needs to hear what you have to say. Like, somebody needs your story. And in fact, I think what I'll add to everything that you've said, I think one of the biggest ways that we can impact people is by sharing our story and letting somebody know that they're not alone and that there is someone who has gone through something similar. So you guys, for anybody who's interested, DM me if you know someone who would be a perfect fit. Comment their name below, tag them in this post, or send them to me and we will get them hooked up on an episode. But thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. Like,
thank you, Ashley.
I'm so excited for to see everything that you're doing, everything that everybody else is like. I'm really excited for this. So I'm just excited to be like a part of this huge tribe of women just coming up. I think it's amazing. So without further ado, you guys, I thank you guys so much for coming on. You guys, as always, thank you so much for interacting. And if you catch us on the replay, put #replay wherever you are coming from. Let us know, and let us know what you thought so that we can drop in and interact with you and have that conversation. So as always, I will see you guys on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is, Tuesday. I'm like, it is Thursday, right? Oh my God. All right, you guys, have an awesome night, and I will see you guys Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.